nationalities who'll be making to the court today. Serena Williams will be the lone American on Rod Laver Arena today. Our first match features two Europeans, Angelique Kerber of Germany, the number 9 seed, up against Flavia Penneta, the number 28 seed from Italy. So 3 courts which will be attracting our attention today. They are the Rod Laver Arena, the Hisense Arena and the Margaret Court Arena. The Hisense Arena starting with a doubles match from the Legends category, and one featuring our very own Mats Wilander playing alongside Pat Cash against Mansour Barami and Cedric Pioline. On the Rod Laver Arena, though, it's going to be Angelique Kerber against Flavia Penneta, meeting for the 5th time in their careers. 2-2 at the moment, but Kerber has won both matches that they've had at the Slams, although it's taken her 3 sets to do so on both occasions. Angelique Kerber, who wasn't very convincing in the opening round.
And, ladies and gentlemen, let's open our program.
Those of you who've been with us from the beginning, you'll have witnessed that opening match against Jarmila Gajsova. 6-3, love 6-6-2, the score on that occasion. Since then, she hasn't dropped a set, beating Alia Kudrayevtseva 6-4, 6-2. And then victory against Alison Risk in the last round, 6-3, 6-4. Flavia Penneta, well, thus far, she has not dropped a set, and she's looking, well, back to, if not better than the best form that she produced in her career. 6-love, 6-2 in the opening round against Alexandra Cadantu of Romania. Then she beat Monica Puig 6-3, 6-4. Mona Bartel succumbed 6-1, 7-5 in round 3. So let's take a look at today's programme on the Rod Laver Arena. It's Kerber against Penneta, then it's Serena Williams against Ana Ivanovic. Ivanovic has never won against Williams. Fognini's never won against Djokovic. They play third, and then in the evening session it's Casey Delacqua against Eugenie Bouchard. They've never met before, and neither have been beyond the 4th round of a slam before. This will be Bouchard's first ever appearance in the 4th round of a Grand Slam. Delacqua did make the Aussie Open 4th round back in 2008. Stan Wawrinka against Tommy Robredo is the last match on Rod Laver. Surprisingly, head-to-head in that one, 6-1 in the favour of Tommy Robredo. Well, as I said, it's going to be a Legends match that kicks things off on the Hisense Arena with Mansour Barami and Cedric Pioline taking on Pat Cash and Mats Wilander. You'll be able to watch that match live on Eurosport 2. They're followed by Li Na, last year's runner-up, the number 4 seed, up against Katerina Makarova of Russia. Then it's going to be Florian Mayer against David Ferrer. The head-to-head between those two is 4-3 in Ferrer's favour. And he's won both of their meetings on the hard courts in slams. Both of those were in the US Open. Over on the Margaret Court Arena, Jarmila Gajsova and Alia Tomljanovic against Timea Babos and Petra Martic in the women's doubles. Just one singles match coming from Margaret Court today. That's Thomas Berdych against Kevin Anderson. They have only played each other in the last 2 years. They've played each other a phenomenal 9 times, and Berdych has won every single one of those encounters, including 2 straight sets wins in the last 2 Australian Opens. They met at exactly the same stage last year. So let's return to the Rod Laver Arena. Those are the weather conditions today. It's gone up just by 1 degree, but it's only 18 degrees out there, which means that Chris Bradnam is, as ever, bedecked in shorts and a T-shirt, but Sir Frew McMillan will be in slightly warmer attire, as this is a little bit parky for him. So let's go and join them for this opening women's singles match on day 7 at the Australian Open.
She returns to centre court.
Jonathan, thank you very much, and you got that in one. Welcome everybody. Day 7. Is it racing by for you? It's certainly going quick here. Remarkable change in temperature. It's like a different tournament, and what a match to look forward to. Both these women looking for a quarter-final at the Australian Open for the very first time in their careers. And as far as the German women are concerned, since 1999, only one German player has made it to the quarterfinals here. That was Andrea Petkovic back in 2011. Good morning, Sir Fruit. Flavia Penneta is looking delightful, super outfit. Part of the Stella McCartney range, perhaps, as Wozniacki always features, and a match to look forward to.
Yes, good morning all. It is, I think, particularly, I've always enjoyed the Penneta style, but as you say, looking her in her outfit this morning, even more delightful to watch. And one just hopes that she's able to present to Kerber the sort of tennis we know she's capable of. She tends to play a greater, perhaps, variety of tennis than her opponent, and if she's able to bring that off, then it certainly is worthwhile watching. Kerber a little bit more straightforward, a little bit more perhaps of a risk taker with her big shots, the left-handed Kerber, and the first left-hander that Penneta's faced in this year's draw.
Talking of hands, Penneta, of course, has had lots of problems with injury. She's always been a very, very highly ranked player. Her highest was number 10 in August of 2009, but a right wrist injury in 2012 towards the back end. And she had to have surgery. It put her out for 6 months, and on the 24th of June last year, she was down at 166 in the world rankings. It's fabulous that Penneta, who's always had such a great work ethic and attitude through, that she's back towards the big time. I mean, she had to miss Hobart at the start of this year with a left wrist problem, so maybe subconsciously that left wrist is working very hard to support the right. But it's wonderful that she's got an opportunity today to make her first quarter-final here.
Yes, so often these injuries, of course, can be setbacks, but at the same time, they can instill in a player the real desire to come back and get back not only perhaps to where they were prior to the injury, but even above that. And she's sort of taken that very mature approach to it, Penneta. And as you say, so good to see her doing it.
And especially at the US Open last year, of course, making the semi-finals. That was her best effort. She lost to Azarenka in the semis, but a wonderful major. And that meant to everybody in the locker room too, as we see the right wrist is still carrying a bit of support, that she's back. I mean, she's already back up to number 29 in the world. And first to rank top 10, Schiavone. They've got a wonderful Fed Cup team. They've had amazing Fed Cup success. And for Kerber, she's often talked about how tough it is to fill, as you would expect. The great Steffi Graf's shoes, 22 singles majors, for many regarded still as the greatest player of all time because of that. Serena Williams is obviously threatening, but they are tough shoes to fill for her.
2 minutes. Yes, and an interesting side note to that, she was born in on January the 18th, 1988, which was during the Aussie Open of that year, and that was the year that Graf beat Evert. Her first Australian title came during the year that Kerber was born. Graf then went on to win 2 more, 3 in a row, and then a 4th sometime later on. So the great Graf, 4 Australians to her name, but Kerber born during the year that Graf first won the Aussie title.
Fabulous earrings. I wonder whether they were a Christmas present. Not seen those before.
From Rory, perhaps, do you think?
He seems to be, yeah. You must own a diamond mine in South Africa, Fru. The amount that he's given to Caroline. Got down on one knee New Year's Eve. He did it the right way, she says.
I think he spoke to her father first. Asked for the hand.
Definitely, yeah. She was interviewed on court by Sam Smith, and all those questions were asked, and yeah, he did it in the good old-fashioned way. And we sort of see as it's a different tournament today through the change in temperature. Is quite extraordinary now. The wind is not coming off the north and the desert, but there have been dozens of fires, and sadly yet again this year in Australia, so many of them started by arsonists. But for those of you who've travelled to Melbourne over the years, I'm sure you would have popped down to St Kilda, the beach area. And just to let you know that yesterday the Stoke House, Does that restaurant ring a bell with many of you? Burnt to the ground, which is a great shame. It's sort of an icon building in St Kilda and Melbourne generally, and I think anybody that's been to Melbourne has tasted the food at the Stoke House, and we wish them a very speedy recovery and back to business. But it's taken lives through, and it's always an issue when you get the extreme heat here.
Yes, and it's certainly a country of extremes, isn't it? I mean, there's a drought in some parts of the country. In Queensland, the farmers are really suffering.
So day 7 of the Australian Open about to get underway. A wonderful opportunity for Flavia Penneta here from Italy, the 28th seed up against the 9th seed Angelique Kerber, both looking for a first quarter final at the Australian Open. They've met 4 times. The 2 big ones, the US Open of 2011, the French Open of 2012. Kerber won both of those in 3 sets. Tight matches. I think we can expect much of the same today. Chris Bradnam alongside Sir Frew McMillan for the first match of the day. Predictions, Frew?
Well, I was just trying to think who the cooler conditions, as sunshine in fact fills the court just as I speak, who the cooler conditions might suit. Kerber's shots won't be quite as hard. On the other hand, Penneta might have liked a little bit more heat just to speed up some of hers. So I think it sort of evens out.
Flavia Penneta won the toss, chose to receive. Kerber chose the easier end from which to serve. The first game of the match from. Wow, that's filled the lungs.
And it certainly got them into their stride, particularly, of course, Penneta winning the point.
All welcome the aces for Kerber. Serves always an interesting debate with most women on tour. The second serve is key, and first serve percentage to protect it even more so.
Oh. 15-30.
Early chances for the Italian.
Well, Penneta seemed to be just waiting for the left-handed serve to go to her backhand side. Can Kerber really deliver the wide one? Never really seen her do it much. Doesn't hit it around the ball quite enough. Well, Oscar shall be given. Fine serve out wide. Good bit of anticipation by Penneta, but the odds were on Kerber to win the point.
Pascal Maria of France in the chair. Super.
Yeah, she had a lot of open court to hit the into-out forehand to the Kerber forehand, but deciding to wrong foot as Kerber moved back to cover whichever shot she felt might arrive next. Always that movement back towards the center, having been stretched wide.
First challenge. And she's not convinced, is she?
Yes, Penneta has 2 challenges remaining.
Well, I apologize to her because that's 2 very good swing serves she's made.
Angelique Kerber.
Coaches nervous as well. Salvador Navarro is Penneta's coach. I've worked with Gabriel Erpi and Albert Viloccia before. Erpi, a former player. Yeah, no wonder the clenched fist from Kerber. 15-40, another breakpoint save too. That's a good hold after 5 minutes at the start of the match. And as we've been prompting you, if you're unable to get to a television set, don't forget the player, eurosport.yahoo.com or .co.uk, all the televised courts. Of course, as the tournament goes deeper, the televised courts become less, but you can get all the action you need. She wears a heart in her sleeve, doesn't she, Penneta?
Flavia, Penneta.
Yeah. A little bit of a dance that she did then, almost after the ball had hit the net, but almost as if she was trying to help the ball over the net. Little lift of the leg.
Love 15.
One just wonders what missing that forehand in the last game, towards the end of the last game, has done to her, because she was hitting the ball so solidly prior to it.
It'll be interesting as we watch baseline exchanges through, whether Penneta is the first to say, right, I've got to get to the net. Done a lot of winning on a doubles court, 14 doubles titles. Dominated with Dulko 2010. 7 titles in all, including the season-end championships. #1 doubles team in the world that year. She's got the skills.
Yes, I was referring to that when I said that she had more sort of all-round court craft. But of course, it's really a matter of how well you use it and how well Kerber would respond. Quite a bit of spin on the second serve, which makes it a little safer, but at 115 kilometers, it enables Kerber really to get her big left arm swing into the shot.
Yes, good throw action on that serve, which is what the serve is.
And it would be interesting if you took a slow motion of Peneta's serve, because she actually hits almost inside the ball and swings it away from an opponent. It's not an easy serve to do, and it involves strong wrists, of course, and that may be one of the reasons why she has those wrist problems.
Well, hardly plays doubles. Doubles hasn't won a title. Didn't look the most secure volley.
And yet she's the first one to try and exploit it. But
Yes.
she looked pretty tentative all the way through it, didn't she?
Can't stress enough the need. Any coaches listening, you've got young girls playing, competing in tennis. Practice the throw action. In other words, as a warm-up, play catch. Just start off quite close, throw the ball over arm and just move further and further away until you can really launch it technically correctly. To have a good serve in women's tennis is such an asset. Fabulous.
What a point. A wry smile from Penneta. Anything you can hit hard, I can hit harder, they seem to be saying to one another. Exceptional point. I wonder if we'll exceed that.
One perilously close to the baseline that Penneta looked at, but she kept her focus.
Of course, they always discount the last shot that isn't made.
Brilliant. And that second serve through is so hittable. I mean, she's 1 from 5 already behind her second serve, Kerber. It's just a push, isn't it? 118 Ks.
Yes, it's fine if she had some really vicious topspin or slice using it.
Oh, how good is that touch? Wow! That's the drop shot of the tournament. As Penneta breaks the love.
Australian Open was always the Grand Slam that you can look for some underdogs.
It comes down to who was willing to put the hours in over Christmas and come out firing.
If they've changed something in their game, the Australian Open is where you're going to see it.
Makes it slightly more unpredictable. You haven't had recent form to take into account.
Some top guys are not ready, so always somebody sneaks in.
I don't think it's very realistic to back an outsider.
It's worth looking at the early rounds to see who is the form player. You can really take great advantage.
Get a 100% deposit bonus with Unibet.
Dad?
Yes? You cannot be serious!
Protect all your family's gadgets against liquid damage, cracked screens, loss and theft. Log on to protectyourbubble.com now.
So you insured all our gadgets on the line?
Online, Dad. It's online.
Well, we're still just crewing over the, just that drop shot was amazing for her.
Absolutely. To be able to run forward at the sort of speed she had to have in order to get to a Kerber shot, playing a drop shot like that was remarkable.
Well, you can understand her wanting a taste of another one. Tracy Austin behind there, courtside.
And it just shows the difference, really, between running forward and playing a backhand and running forward to a drop shot and playing a forehand. You never have nearly as much control on the forehand when moving forward as you do with the backhand.
15 over.
And a lot of it is due to the wrist and the head up of the racket. Head up with a backhand, more common than head up with a forehand. How do you practice it? How do you practice your volleys? Hitting against a wall. Sharp exchanges against a wall.
(30-15).
Spent so many hours of my junior time through hitting against a wall. Did you practice against a wall much?
Absolutely, yes. I think we all did. And now they've, at some clubs, doing away with walls. I can never really appreciate it.
Crazy. Especially when seniors take priority over courts and juniors so often get booted off, and that's where you go.
Exactly, yes.
So many drills you can do on a wall as well. You can practice your smash.
Yeah.
Bouncing it down just before the wall, it gives you another lob.
Yeah.
Super ace. The wall is there in all weathers. It always turns up. It'll stay there as long as you want it to stay there for.
Yes, it's the equivalent of golf, where you can go out and, you know, do your own thing on a golf course. Well, you arrive at a club, tennis club, there's nobody else there, no courts around, but you can enjoy it on the wall. You can play against the wall. You never beat it, but it's worth trying.
Tennis clubs these days, parents and clubs alike, they're obsessed with squads. Can't do anything unless you're in a squad.
Well, I think some committees ought to be in squads. Firing squads.
Going for it, really going for it. This is for Kerber to really think about at the moment. Seeded to win, ranked to win, top tenner, under pressure. Making a move, or trying to.
15-30.
Yes, there was some doubt with the previous forehand, but I think it just got enough line. Penneta having a long look at the mark, even though she'd won the point. Trying to make a point, I suppose. She's just reading the game so well. The tennis brain working rapidly. Kerber had the point won, should have won it.
Five years wiser, perhaps, Penneta at 31. Brilliant. She's in control of this match and some. This is a wonderful start from Flavia Penneta. Super all-court tennis with all shots on display, and well worth the 4-1 double break lead first set. People get nervous before matches through because they're not sure how well they're going to play, how well they're going to have to play, how well the opponent's going to play. etc., etc. But it's a dream start for Penneta.
Well, I thought it was a dream start for both of them. They really looked in very, very good shape. They looked to be in the hunt. They looked very confident about their own ability. But it's certainly Penneta who's reading the game and reading Kerber's style and Kerber's mentality a lot better than the German is hers. Some might say, well, you know, who can read the Italians? They're not always that easy to read, but Penneta's just mixing it up that much more. She has got that variety. We haven't seen her really at the net to the extent that Kerber, not that they've both been madly rushing in.
Tie.
But Penneta middling the ball so well.
I've often called Kerber Miss Versatile. She's going to need to be today to get out of this. Yeah, that says it all. Penneta 4-1 first set, double break.
Love 15.
She's got great stickability though, Kerber too.
15-all.
Is that serve? Very few men use the serve. Becker got to do it quite a bit because of the tremendous strength he had in his right arm. Long before him, Clark Graebner, an American, used it.
Oops.
How about that for ambidexterity? That was a right-handed return by Kerber, if I'm not mistaken. Have to see it again. Maybe I missed it.
Nadal's using that one you talk about through on the right court.
The kicker.
Yeah, the sort of away one. Look at that. Just look at that body position, the intent.
30-all.
Yes, Kerber looking across, not at her camp, but looking at Penneta. And she knows all about Penneta, having lost to her a couple of times, but she must be wondering at her wonderful form. Yeah, it is again, that serve.
Yeah, right.
40-30.
Tough to read, too, because you've only got to tweak it the other way, and you've got the slider.
I went through a period of using the serve nowhere near this sort of pace, and it's amazing the difficulty it caused opponents. Yeah. I mean, top-class opponents are not used to seeing this, you know, just a different swing, like a swing bowler.
Yeah, she has to be proactive here, Kerber. You can sense her trying to move into that area.
Good.